Commander Elias Ward stood at the edge of the Sarathian spaceport, staring at the city that shimmered beneath the twin suns. The air was thick with a faint, sweet scent, unlike anything on Earth, and the enormous towers seemed to pulse with life. For a human, even one who had traveled through the stars countless times, this place felt alive. But he was here, not to admire architecture. He was here on a mission that could change the fate of an entire civilization. The Sarathians, a tall and elegant species with shimmering skin and multifaceted eyes, were facing a crisis that threatened their very survival. Their population had been declining for centuries, and their strict breeding cycles limited their chance to reverse the trend. A single week, every cycle allowed them to reproduce, and if they failed during that time, the chance was lost for years. For the Queen, it was a matter of life and death. Elias followed the human envoy team through the enormous hall of the royal palace. Each step echoed across the polished floors. The team consisted of diplomats, scientists, and engineers, each tasked with a different mission. Their goal was to offer the Sarathians knowledge, technology, and cooperation to ensure their survival, and to form an alliance that would benefit both species. They were met by the palace attendants and guided into a chamber where Queen Valera awaited. She was taller than most Sarathians, her presence commanding, her eyes deep pools of intelligence and caution. The humans bowed instinctively, though the Queen only inclined her head slightly. "Welcome, humans," her voice flowed like liquid silver, resonating in the chamber. "We have studied your species for decades, yet certain aspects of your biology remain astonishing." Elias stepped forward. "We are honored, Your Majesty. We come to offer assistance and cooperation, nothing more." The Queen's eyes narrowed, not with suspicion, but with curiosity. "You survive in ways our species cannot. You endure extreme climates, diseases, and even injuries that would kill one of my people. But it is your reproductive biology that fascinates me the most." Elias blinked. "Our biology?" he asked cautiously. "Yes," Valera replied, her tone sharp yet intrigued. "Humans can mate and reproduce throughout the year. There is no single period, no strict cycle. You are continuous. I find it remarkable." The other Sarathians in the room shifted uneasily. Some whispered among themselves. To them, reproduction was sacred and strictly timed. A human who could bypass such limitations was nearly inconceivable. Elias understood the gravity of her words. "It is a natural trait, Your Majesty. It allows our species to adapt, to endure. We have learned to survive and thrive precisely because of it." The Queen's gaze softened, and for the first time, Elias sensed a flicker of hope behind her otherwise stoic demeanor. "If only our people could achieve what yours can do naturally," she murmured. "Perhaps your presence here is fate." The scientists from the human team began their work immediately, conducting non-invasive studies and exchanging knowledge. They examined the Sarathian reproductive cycle, the hormonal structures, and the environmental triggers. Every discovery reinforced the Queen's earlier fascination. Humans were biologically resilient in ways Sarathians had never imagined. Elias spent long hours with Valera, not as a soldier or diplomat, but as a human observer. They walked through the palace gardens, where strange plants with luminous flowers stretched toward the twin suns. She spoke of her people's history, their struggles, and their fears. In turn, Elias shared stories of humanity's hardships on Earth, the wars, the diseases, and the unyielding drive to survive. It was not a conversation of romance or intrigue. It was one of understanding, trust, and respect. Valera had lived for centuries, yet she had never encountered a species quite like humans. Their persistence, their adaptability, and their cooperative spirit fascinated her more than any weapon or technology could. Late one evening, The queen summoned Elias to her private chambers. The room was vast, with walls that seemed to shimmer in rhythm with the light outside. She stood by the window, looking out at the city, her posture tense, but regal. "You must understand, Commander," she began. "My people are in grave danger. If we cannot reproduce effectively, our civilization will end. We have sought solutions for decades, but all have failed. Your biology, it may hold the key to our survival." Elias nodded slowly. "I understand, Your Majesty. We can help. Not by replacing your people, but by sharing knowledge, techniques, and medical research that may allow you to overcome these limitations safely." Valira turned to face him, her eyes wide and earnest. "Do you think your people could teach us? Could you share without taking advantage?" Humans had long prided themselves on their ability to collaborate and endure. Elias smiled faintly. "Our species thrives because we help each other. We share our strengths. That is what makes us resilient. We do not seek to dominate. We seek to cooperate." The queen seemed to relax slightly, a rare sight for one who carried the weight of an empire on her shoulders. She gestured for him to sit. "Then we begin," she said. "If your people's biology can inspire a method for our survival, we must act swiftly. Time is not on our side." Over the following weeks, the human team worked tirelessly alongside Sarathian scientists. They developed synthetic environments to mimic the conditions that triggered human fertility, studied hormones that maintained biological stability, and designed treatments that could safely regulate Sarathian reproductive cycles. Every step brought hope, but also resistance. Some Sarathian nobles opposed the collaboration. They viewed humans as unpredictable and intrusive, a threat to their ancient customs. Arguments flared, and the queen had to mediate carefully. Elias often found himself in the center of these debates, not as a warrior, but as a symbol of humanity's potential. One afternoon, during a critical experiment, an unexpected failure occurred. A batch of hormone regulators did not stabilize as predicted, causing panic among the Sarathian team. Valira's expression was unreadable as she assessed the situation. Elias calmly stepped forward, explaining the human approach to trial and error, emphasizing patience, observation, and incremental adjustment. Slowly, the lab regained control, and the experiment succeeded. The queen studied him quietly afterward. "You remain calm where others panic. That is another trait of your species I admire," she said softly. "Perhaps that is why you survive. You adapt, not only in body but in mind." Elias shrugged, embarrassed by the praise. "We learn from mistakes, Your Majesty. It is how we endure." The alliance between humans and Sarathians grew stronger with each success. The queen began to trust the human team implicitly, particularly Elias, who represented both their ingenuity and their patience. It was a trust built on respect, not fear or obligation, a trust that could determine the fate of an entire civilization. Yet outside the palace, not all Sarathians welcomed these changes. A small faction of extremists watched the human team with suspicion, plotting to undermine the project and maintain their traditional ways. They could not fathom that another species might offer salvation, and their fear simmered like a storm waiting to break. Elias sensed the tension, but remained focused on the mission. He spent days in labs, nights walking the gardens, and every moment learning about a species so different, yet so fragile. He realized that survival was not just about strength or numbers. It was about cooperation, understanding, and the courage to embrace change. Late one night, Valira joined him in the gardens, silent and contemplative. The twin suns had set, leaving a soft glow that illuminated the alien flora. She looked at him with an intensity that spoke not of suspicion, but of awe. "Humans," she whispered, almost to herself, "you endure in ways we cannot. Your strength lies not just in your bodies, but in your spirit. Perhaps you are what my people need to survive." Elias nodded, humbled. "We are here to help, Your Majesty. Your people are strong. They just need the right guidance and support." The Queen smiled faintly, a rare expression of hope. "Then let us work together. Let humanity's ways guide us through this darkness. Let us learn, adapt, and endure together." As the night deepened, Elias looked up at the stars. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers alike. But here, on this distant planet, humans had the chance to change the course of an entire civilization. And he understood, more clearly than ever, that their greatest power was not in weapons, not in technology, but in their ability to survive, adapt, and help others endure as well. The days following the breakthrough in the lab were filled with cautious optimism. Humans and Sarathians worked side by side, sharing knowledge and observing the effects of the treatments developed from human biology. Every success brought relief to the Queen, and every failure reminded them of the stakes. Elias Ward moved among the teams with quiet determination, ensuring that both species communicated clearly, that nothing was lost in translation, but not everyone welcomed the changes. A faction of Sarathian traditionalists saw the human methods as a threat to their customs. They whispered in corridors, warning of foreign influence, and some plotted to disrupt the research. Elias knew that danger lingered beyond the palace walls, though he focused on the work at hand. Survival demanded attention, and fear could wait. One morning, alarms blared throughout the palace. Security personnel rushed past the labs, shouting orders in rapid, melodic tones. Elias felt his heart tighten. The extremists had acted. He followed the rushing crowd to find a group of attackers attempting to disable the primary lab equipment. Sarathian guards confronted them, but the extremists were determined, striking with precision and knowledge of the building's layout. Elias did not hesitate. He sprinted toward the lab, using his training to disarm the attackers and protect both scientists and equipment. He moved with calm efficiency, prioritizing safety over aggression, and soon the extremists were restrained. The Queen arrived moments later, her tall figure commanding the scene. She studied Elias with an intensity that spoke volumes. "You protected more than the lab," she said quietly. "You protected the hope of my people." Elias shrugged, focusing on ensuring the scientists were unharmed. "We all have a role to play, Your Majesty. My job is to help wherever I can." In the aftermath of the attack, the Queen held a private council. She addressed her advisors and the human team. "These extremists fear change, but their actions only strengthen our resolve. We cannot allow fear to dictate survival. The humans have proven their loyalty. They are partners, not invaders." The work resumed with renewed vigor. Scientists refined the hormone regulators, improving their stability and reducing risks. Elias observed the Sarathian volunteers with quiet respect. Despite centuries of strict customs and breeding limitations, they trusted humans to guide them toward a solution. That trust was fragile, yet powerful. Weeks passed, and the results began to show. Sarathians who had previously struggled to conceive now displayed improved reproductive cycles. The treatments did not make them identical to humans, nor was that the goal. Instead, they provided stability and extended opportunity, allowing Sarathian couples to succeed where they had failed before. The Queen observed the progress with a mix of relief and awe. She had lived for centuries, seen her people suffer, and feared their extinction. Yet now, thanks to humans, there was hope. Elias's calm demeanor, patience, and determination had not only inspired her people but had also proven that humans could be trusted allies. In a quiet moment, Valira summoned Elias to the palace gardens. The twin suns were setting, casting a soft glow over the alien flora. She gestured to the plants around them, their luminescent flowers swaying gently. "Commander Ward," she said softly, "you have done more than assist my people. You have shown them what it means to endure, to adapt, and to survive. Your species possesses a strength that is rare, resilience guided by compassion." Elias looked at her, humbled. "Your Majesty, the Sarathians are strong. Humans only offer guidance. It is your people who face the challenge and overcome it." The Queen studied him, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "Perhaps," she said, "but humans have a gift for persistence that my people lacked. That gift has saved lives, and it has saved hope." The alliance between humans and Sarathians began to influence other aspects of the empire. Social structures became more flexible, and previously rigid traditions were reconsidered in light of practical survival. The extremists lost influence as the successes mounted, unable to argue against observable results. One day a grand assembly was called. The Queen stood before her people, with Elias and the human team by her side. Thousands of Sarathians filled the chamber, their eyes wide with curiosity and cautious excitement. Valira addressed the assembly, her voice resonant and commanding. "My people," she began, "for centuries we have faced the threat of decline. Our strict cycles and fragile biology have limited our chance to survive. But today, hope is no longer an abstract concept. Through cooperation, observation, and courage, humans have guided us towards stability. They have taught us that endurance comes not from isolation, but from unity." The assembly listened in silence, absorbing her words. Elias stood quietly, aware that this moment would define the relationship between humans and Sarathians for generations. Valira continued, her voice rising with pride. "The treatments we have developed will not change who we are. We remain Sarathians, but we are stronger, more resilient, and more capable than ever before. Let this be remembered as the day we embraced knowledge, courage, and partnership. Let it be remembered that humans, not through dominance or force, but through cooperation and spirit, helped save an entire civilization." Applause filled the chamber, a sound unfamiliar yet powerful for the humans present. Elias felt a swell of pride, not for himself, but for what humanity represented. This was the true HFY moment. Humans had made a difference without conquest, without coercion, and without seeking reward. They had changed the course of history through resilience, compassion, and intelligence. In the days that followed, the human team prepared to leave. The palace, once tense with the weight of impending extinction, now buzzed with cautious optimism. Sarathians moved with renewed purpose, inspired by both the success of the research and the example of human endurance. The Queen personally thanked Elias before the departure. "Commander Ward, humanity has given my people more than science. You have given us courage and hope. Your presence will be remembered for centuries." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "It was our honor, Your Majesty. Your people were ready to embrace change. We only helped guide them." As the humans boarded their ship, the twin suns dipped below the horizon. The city glowed softly in their wake, a symbol of rebirth and resilience. Elias gazed out the window, reflecting on the journey. Humans had faced countless challenges across the galaxy. Yet it was not weapons or technology that had defined them. It was their capacity to endure, adapt, and uplift others. The Queen's final words echoed in his mind. Humans possess strength not in muscle, but in spirit. They share what others guard. Elias smiled faintly. He knew that wherever humans went in the galaxy, they carried that same spirit with them. It was a force stronger than any weapon, more enduring than any empire. It was the quiet power of resilience, cooperation, and hope, the essence of humanity itself. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of unknown worlds, dangers, and possibilities. Yet for one distant civilization, humans had made all the difference. They had shown that survival did not always come from dominance, but from compassion, intelligence, and the courage to act. And that was a lesson that would resonate across the galaxy for generations to come. As the ship soared into the vast expanse of space, Elias looked back at the planet below, shimmering under the last light of the twin suns. He knew that the alliance between humans and Sarathians was just the beginning. Together they would face the future, uncertain, challenging, but full of promise. And humanity once again had proven its value, not by conquest, but by endurance, spirit, and the unyielding will to make a difference.